Hi, my name is Søren Salomo. I'm professor here at the Technical University of Denmark, DTU.
And I'm Dietfried Globocnik from the University of Graz.
And we're gathered here today to talk about our new paper recently published in Journal of Product Innovation Management. The paper is about bootlegging behavior and how formal management practices impact such behavior.
So what is bootlegging? Bootlegging describes the secret organization of an employee with respect to innovation activities. So they don't tell anybody about it, they don't inform the supervisors, and they also gather their own resources to put their idea into practice. For our research, we built hypotheses and also tested them with empirical field survey data collected from 103 employees from 39 companies.
Now let's move on to the formal management practices. And the first thing we looked at is the strategic work autonomy. It's about the individual degrees of freedom employees have in a firm. What we find is with larger autonomy, more individual degrees of freedom, this increases the bootlegging activity in firms. We also find that more autonomy results in individuals, when they engage in bootlegging, they start gathering more resources for their bootlegging activities, and they bypass more often official channels to find support for their bootlegging projects.
Next, we investigated the impact of the formal front-end process. So the process formality, the formal mechanisms in place to how to develop and how to select ideas within a company. What we found out is that front-end formality has no impact on the intensity of bootlegging behavior. However, it decreases the likelihood that people bypass the official chain of communication, and it's also decreasing the likelihood that employees provide their own resources to realize their ideas.
Now let's look at how firms treat success and failure. What we find is that when rewards are paid for successes, this results in more bootlegging activities. With sanctions, the story is a little bit more complicated. We could expect that when a firm sanctions mistakes more heavily, that more individuals would engage in bootlegging activity. That's basically because bootlegging is less visible and hence less prone to be sanctioned if it becomes a mistake. However, what we find is that sanctions do not have an effect on the amount of bootlegging activities in firms. What we find is that when firms sanction mistakes, then bootleggers start gathering less resources to support their projects. So you could say they mitigate the risks if the project would become a mistake.
Finally, we were also interested in investigating one individual characteristic. In specific, we investigated the entrepreneurial self-efficacy. And self-efficacy describes one's beliefs in the ability to perform specific tasks. In that research, it was the task of innovation. What we found out is that this self-belief, having high self-efficacy, has a very, very strong impact on bootlegging, on all different manifestations of bootlegging behavior that we have investigated. Interestingly, this individual characteristic is not independent from the organizational context. What we have seen is that strategic autonomy increases the self-efficacy, and also, interestingly, the formal front-end process increases the building of self-efficacy, because the formality of such a process provides a blueprint for the employee how to master innovation tasks. So they are becoming more confident in how to succeed and master innovation.
So in conclusion, formal management practices have an impact on bootlegging activity. Strategic work autonomy increases bootlegging, so do rewards. Formal front-end processes have a more complicated relationship, but they primarily support bootlegging through an indirect effect across individual self-efficacy. Enjoy reading our paper in Journal of Product Innovation Management.